Well. Welcome to the first Cool Hand Dross Podcast, the world premiere. I'm treating this as a dress rehearsal, a live dress rehearsal, just to get the stage fright out of the way. I'm a bit nervous about it, but I'm finally bringing it to you people, you good people, and it's finally come to fruition. I want to thank all the family and friends who either shot me text messages or direct message me on Instagram with words of encouragement. Obviously, there's been a lot of different false starts and a lot of different types of iterations of this podcast, but it's been a long time in the making, and now it's finally live and direct amongst you wonderful people out there. I'd also like to give thanks and show some gratitude towards some 3 or 4 key players that helped me get this going. One of them is a friend of mine and a former coworker, co-teacher, Meredith. At the tail end of last school year, Meredith highly suggested to me that I should start my own podcast. She said those words of encouragement to me on a Thursday. That Friday, the next day, she brought into work a box, and within that box was a microphone, the very microphone that I'm using right now to speak to you, and headphones. She had intentions of starting her own podcast, never came to fruition. She just didn't feel like doing it after it was all said and done. So she passed all of her equipment and her well wishes on to me. So thank you, Meredith. Number 2, when it comes to thanks, is Mr. Riley Rolland. I met Riley online. Just this past summer. And he is in audio production. He is a video and audio producer based out of the Lone Star State of Texas. And Riley and I met online. Formed a really nice rapport, a nice relationship, and he will be producing this for me, the audio and the video. Eventually, I want to have a video component. Just getting ramped up, and sooner than later, there'll be a video component to this as well. The third person to thank you is Scott of Reinvent Studio X. He has numerous years, actually decades, in the audio and video production world. And he spent some time with me. We sat down over a cup of coffee a couple of times, and he made equipment suggestions, recording suggestions, and he just gave me some of his. I downloaded from him some of his expertise. So thank you, Scott. And the same can be said for Jennifer of True Fashionista. She was another wonderful person I met with over a cup of coffee, and she gave me her time and her expertise. So thank you to Scott, Jennifer, Riley, and Meredith. All right. As I said, I'm starting to just treat this as, I am treating this as a dress rehearsal, a live dress rehearsal. Let me explain to you the format of the show, or the premise of the show. There's going to be 4 pillars or staples of each brief episodes. There'll be books. I'll discuss the reading and writing of them. Mental health. I'll have candid conversations, live and direct, from my experiences. Hopefully, when I shed some of the candid light, that it helps others. I also have the third pillar or third staple. That's Tales from the Jar. I have a glass mason jar in front of me that has scrunched up pieces of paper that just has intro lines to personal stories or anecdotes of my own or from friends. At times, these tales can be risque. Just to let you know, I will be working blue in this area. But I think that'll be a pretty fun segment of the show. And then last but not least, the culture call out. I'll just go over what I'm reading, watching, or listening to. This is a question that I ask of my friends when I speak with them, or they ask of me. So it's just interesting to see what people are listening to or reading or watching. To keep everyone's interest, if you're not interested in books or mental health hygiene or the Tales from the Jar or the culture call out, I have on my phone right now a spinning wheel. You can go to spinningwheel.com, and in that I have the 4 segments. So I'm going to just randomly let the podcast gods or the fates decide what I'll be speaking about first. And then you can just fast forward throughout the show if you just want to hear the culture call out, Tales from the Jar, mental health hygiene, or the books. So let me just pull that up on the spinning wheel. I'll give it a spin, and we will see what the gods have in store for us. All right, here we go. So once again, I have books, which is Home by Toni Morrison, a fantastic book, 180 pages. I could cover that. I have, for mental health hygiene, I have ketamine, Better Living Through Chemistry. For Tales from the Jar, just to get it going, this is a tale from me. It's entitled The Poo Bandit, A True Crime Story. And then you have your cultural call out. All right, here we go. I'm going to spin it. It's spinning. Got 4 different colors, 4 different topics. And it landed on culture call out. So that's a simple one and a quick one. All right, what I've been reading is obviously Home by Toni Morrison. I just finished that. I'm actually on a Toni Morrison deep dive. So I just finished Home. I'm reading Paradise by her currently, which I'll discuss or cover down the road. I'm also simultaneously reading a nonfiction work entitled Say Nothing. It's an account of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, or in Belfast specifically. It's written by a great New York Times reporter who actually wrote a book called Empire of Pain, which is based on the Sackler family. I'm not quite sure if you saw the Netflix show about the massive spread of opiates and how the pharmaceutical companies align themselves with lobbyists and medical organizations to push those drugs out. So he's a great writer, and I'm enjoying all those books that I'm reading. Watching, over the Thanksgiving break, my wife Michelle and I watched Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film, One Battle After Another. Highly, highly recommend it. It was fantastic, at times hysterically funny, and at times harrowing and quite disturbing because it is very topical. And I have to say, Sean Penn threw down. He was amazing in it. And my boy Benicio del Toro's in it. He's one of my favorite actors. He's always incredibly good. He was happened to be very, very funny and very, very good in this. And Leonardo DiCaprio, in my opinion, always delivers. So fantastic film. Paul Thomas Anderson, an amazing director. I highly recommend watching One Battle After Another. All right. That was pretty brief, all over the place, but that was my culture call out. All right. Next on the spinning wheel. Here we go. Right. Okay, spinning. And this landed on books. Home by Toni Morrison. Books, the reading and writing of them. That's one of the pillars. Okay, well, let me work backwards before I cover the amazing Miss Toni Morrison. I'm currently writing a novel. It's my first novel. The working title is Novella Painting. I started writing it last January 6th of 2025. That wasn't a political statement. It just happened to fall on the first Monday of January. I started writing for 30 minutes a day, amped it up to 45 minutes to an hour, and I started building myself up, getting myself ready for this past summer. It was sort of like training for a marathon. I knew that if I got to this summer or last summer and I never did any writing or pre-writing, that it would be very difficult. So I started training myself because I wanted to capitalize on the summer. I'm currently a high school teacher, so I do have the summers off. I'm broke during the summer, but I have an abundance of time, and time is far worth more than any money. So last summer, I wrote a ton. I wrote probably about 3 or 4 hours a day. And after it was all said and done, starting January 6th till about August or September, I got up to about 70 to 80,000 words. And right at that time, I quickly realized that I don't really know exactly what I'm doing. I went big right away. Novella Painting has 3 different types of narratives within it that all will amalgamate or come together or merge as the story unfolds. So one of them is a screenplay. One mode of the writing is prose of the actual story. And then the other was an email relationship. So all 3 of those intertwine and come together. But it started getting really complicated for me. So I slowed it down and started mapping all those 3 storylines out for Novella Painting. The protagonist is named Ben, and Ben, shocker, is a painting contractor, which I used to be, and through his mental health struggles realizes that he wants to become, or uses writing as a catharsis or cathartic tool, and joins a writing club, and therefore that's why the screenplay's in there. So yeah, that's just a brief, quick synopsis of Novella Painting. I'll discuss that further as it goes, but it's been a really cool experience. probably like you, there are many things in your life that you've always wanted to do. And, well, life gets in the way. Adulthood, careers, jobs, parenting, marriages, all the things that take time and energy. And they're all deserving of that, obviously. But in the end, unfortunately, your dreams, or at least my dreams, were on hold, and I always self-sabotage them. So I'm really proud of myself for starting the writing of the novel. It's going along really well, to be quite frank with you. I have shared it with some people who have a critical eye, and they said I'm definitely onto something. So I'm proud of myself for actually finally executing that, and also just doing this podcast so I can talk about novella painting and the love that I have for books, which leads me to Home by Miss Toni Morrison. I was also thinking that if you're going to listen to me ramble on, that you should probably walk away with a couple of pieces of useful information. So if you're not aware of who Toni Morrison is, she is a Nobel laureate. She won the Nobel Prize for Literature. She is recognized worldwide as a fantastic American writer. So let me give you 3 facts. I actually have a rough bulleted script right here on my monitor. She was a single mother raising 2 sons after her divorce, and she would start writing her novels at 4 a.m. before her kids woke, and late night after they went to bed. She was also a very successful editor. She was an editor for Random House. She actually worked on books that were written by Muhammad Ali. She co-authored books with Muhammad Ali. People or members of the Black Panther Party, such as Angela Davis and Huey Newton. She treated their manuscripts like historical documents, and she was an advocate for Black writers and activists. And if you do a Google search, there's some really cool shots of Toni Morrison with Muhammad Ali. So that was something that I learned. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that she was a prominent editor before she became an acclaimed writer. But it's really cool to see that she worked her way through being a single mother, worked her ass off, wrote in the morning, wrote in the evening, and really gave herself to her art. And that's why we're talking about her today. Home is 180 pages. It's a quick read. It is a beautiful read. The main character is Frank, and Frank is a Korean War combat veteran. And the book starts with Frank in a mental hospital because he deals with or struggles greatly with PTSD. And he breaks out of the hospital and goes on this type of journey. It's almost like an odyssey. He wants to go and track down his long-lost sister. And he's doing this in the segregated South in the 1950s, 50s, 60s. So not only does he have combat PTSD, but let's face it, he also has PTSD being a Black man living in a segregated South. And all of that mental carnage and psychosomatic carnage affects him as he's on this journey through the Deep South trying to reunite with his long-lost sister, C. It's a beautiful book. Toni Morrison's prose is always just beautiful. I find myself rereading certain passages because it is so dense, and it takes time to appreciate the way she writes because it is so beautiful. It's like looking at a painting in a museum. You just can't walk by a Picasso and just be like, that was cool. You actually have to give it a couple minutes and really look at it and take it all in. And that's what reading Toni Morrison requires. She is my friend CJ and I relate or correlate writers with levels of musicianship. And I feel, and so does my friend TJ, that Toni Morrison is that of a jazz musician. Jazz musicians are obviously on the top of the food chain when it comes to skill sets of musicians. And I would say so is Toni Morrison. So just like listening to jazz, it takes a different type of listener. So therefore, Toni Morrison takes a different type of reader. She requires that. And it's deserving. Just to go over some of the themes that are in that, I actually, like I said, I have some brief notes here. Even the title Home, well, everyone wants to get home, even if that's a spiritual type of home or a familial type of home or a comfort type of home. And as stated before, Frank is on like this, he's like Odysseus in this odyssey trying to reunite with his sister and be home, feel home. There's also the theme of just trauma and how war leaves these invisible scars. The way she presents it, it's mythic. That's why I think I used the word Odyssey. And what I took away from it is just the amazing support system that there was. There was almost like a modern day underground railroad to help Black folk travel throughout the South, maybe even get bus fare, get a meal, get a nice, clean, quiet place to sleep for the night. And it was really cool to see this network system that Frank used to get all the way back down more to like the Atlanta, Georgia area to kindle his relationship with his sister C, who was going through some really difficult times. That I'm just getting started to learn how to do this, but I don't want to give away too much of home. But I always gravitate toward Toni Morrison. There was a winter, just not many winters ago, where my wife Michelle and I read numerous books by her. One of it would be Tar Baby, Sula, and Beloved. And Beloved is made into a film. I'm not quite sure if some of you have seen it. It's a heartbreaking, true account of slavery and how one woman who was being brought into slavery decided it would be best to kill her daughter, her newborn daughter, than to subject her to the evils and brutality of slavery. So Beloved is a haunting, haunting book. Actually, there is ghosts throughout the book and it is haunting, but that's a book that I could only read once. Home I could revisit. It's not as heavy. It is beautiful. And there's one standout passage or scene where Frank, the journeyman, comes across a jazz club, and the way Toni Morrison, through her prose, describes and captures the ambiance and the energy of the jazz room is awesome. I caught myself reading that numerous times. So yeah, I'd highly recommend checking out Toni Morrison, and I think Home is a great place to start because it's just 180 pages, and it's not necessarily a very demanding read. Okay, that is the book segment. I'm trying to keep this succinct, and I'm just learning how to do this. I think you could tell I'm a little bit nervous. All right, that leaves us with 2 segments of the first Cool Hand Dross podcast. That would be Ketamine, Better Living Through Chemistry. That's the mental health hygiene aspect of our discussion. And then the Poo Bandit, that comes from the Mason jar. The Poo Bandit, a true unsolved crime story. So here we go. I'm going to spin the spinny wheel. It's a 50-50 shot. Let's see where we end up. Whoa, it was right on the border. All right, this one is about ketamine, Better Living Through Chemistry. Better Living Through Chemistry is an allusion to a great Fatboy Slim record anyway. So check out. You want to go old school, go back and listen to Fatboy Slim, Better Living Through Chemistry. I have some good memories around that. All right, ketamine. Again, I think I should try and give you at least 3 facts you could walk away with while I just ramble on, and maybe you would pay attention a bit quicker. I'm sorry, pay attention a bit more if I'm going to teach you 3 things. Okay. Ketamine was developed in the 1960s as a safe, fast-acting anesthetic that was used in the combat zones of the Vietnam War. It's a dissociative, and its ability to provide pain relief without impacting the injured person's breathing was a huge thing in trauma care and battle triage. And that's where ketamine's first reared its head. Now, though, fast forward 40, 50 years, even 60 years now, researchers started discovering how ketamine brought about like rapid antidepressant effects, often within hours. So not that would replace psychoanalysis or therapy, but I've done both therapy and ketamine, which I'll discuss in a moment. I would liken a ketamine session to about 50 therapy sessions. So it expedites the process exponentially, if you will. It's been a breakthrough for people. It's been a breakthrough for me, which I'll share in a moment. I'd like to just give you another fact that you could walk away if you're at a cocktail party and maybe you want to talk about ketamine with somebody. Ketamine acts as a receptor, and it helps the brain form neural connections. So there is a neuroplasticity to it. That's what I was drawn. That's why I was drawn to use it and to take it as a therapeutic or cathartic tool to help in my healing. So yeah, that's ketamine in a nutshell. So my experiences, I've been in and out of therapy for years. And what I found with therapists are just like accountants or coworkers or marketing managers or mechanics. Some of them are better than others. Some of them have a better skill set. Some of them are better at their jobs than others. And I was blessed to come across just two really, really good therapists. I'll get to them down the road in other mental health hygiene episodes. But I haven't been seeing a therapist for, I don't know now, 5 or 6 years. But last winter, I started finding myself falling back into some negative thought loops, some thought patterns, and some stories that we tell ourselves that have been formed from life or from whatever traumatic episodes you have or whatever upbringing you had, whatever has affected you adversely. Well, those become neural pathways. There's a brilliant, world-renowned psychiatrist and pediatrician by the name of Dr. Gabor Mate, and I would recommend checking out some of his work. And Dr. Gabor Mate likens plant-based medicine or ketamine treatment like a fresh blanket of snow falling on a hill that you will go down sledding. So let me explain more of that analogy. So the stories that we tell ourselves or the thought patterns that we have within our brains from whatever life experiences we have, both positive and negative, both adversarial and loving, those are grooves within our brain. Those are neural pathways. And just like when we were kids and you would go down a hill on a sled, after a while, if you keep traveling down that hill with that sled, you get into these grooves of the sled, and then there's grooves. And as you notice, it would be hard to find a new fresh blanket of snow where you can go down a new trail. So that is what Dr. Gabor Mate was alluding to, is that our thought processes are like those sled grooves. And once you get locked into them, especially if they're depressive or anxious type of thought loops, or in this analogy, the rails going down, the sled rails, it's hard to get out of that. But a plant-based medicine treatment, whether it be psilocybin or ayahuasca, or perhaps even now ketamine, which I'll be talking about my experiences now, that lays a fresh blanket of snow down on the hill, hence the neuroplasticity, because now you're starting from ground zero. And it's easier to break away from those thought patterns that might be harmful to you or just limiting to you in your life and your abilities. For me, they were very depressive ones. And in the past, throughout my life, I've dealt with effectively and non-effectively with suicidal ideation. And those are just thoughts of, suicidal ideation. It's just sometimes it gets heavy, and that's how my brain processes it. And I know a lot of people might be shocked at that, knowing me. But I think one of the greatest or the most, it is a powerful thing to do, but also a false strength is to put on a good front. And I think for decades I've done that, to wear a mask. But now I no longer do that. I just tell the truth, and I'm here. I live to tell. I'm 55 years old now, which is fucking crazy. I have more silver than I do. I have more salt than I do pepper in my beard now, but I'm blessed, and I'm glad to say that. And I've been a survivor of many, many ups and downs when it comes to mental health. So last winter, I found myself starting to slip back into some negative habits that would be really unhealthy for me, and then eventually, if they continued, unhealthy for my family. So my wife and I, Michelle, decided perhaps ketamine intervention would help. Ketamine is legal in numerous states, depending upon what state you live in. There will even be ketamine therapy centers. That would be an IV transfusion. Shocker, listeners, but your health insurance probably will not cover ketamine therapy. So, for instance, when Michelle and I started doing research in the state of Florida, we live in Southwest Florida now. I found plenty of ketamine treatment centers, but they were charging $5,000 to $7,000 for just 5 or 6 sessions without any type of trip sitter or psychoanalysis or group therapy that would help you break down what the ketamine brought up. That's a lot of money. I'm currently a high school teacher, and I don't have 5 to 7K laying around. But I knew I needed assistance. I needed help. And the heaven sent or God sent mindbloom.com. So I came across, through my research, I came across mindbloom.com. They're an online vendor. They're an online ketamine service where you, thanks to them, can do ketamine in the comfort of your home for 1/5 the cost of the $7,000 initial cost I found when I was looking at the infusion therapy centers. This you take sublingually through mindbloom.com. You go through a very rigorous process. You have to meet with a psychiatrist through them online. They screen you. They're looking for certain signs. For instance, if you have any type of schizophrenia or bipolarism within your genetics, if you have a pre-genetic disposition towards that, there's a good chance you'll be disqualified. I do not. Luckily. Unluckily, I have a lot of depression and anxiety in my family, so hence why I'm talking to you about these things and about ketamine. So through MindBloom, you get screened, and then they ship you, which was crazy. You get shipped ketamine to your house, and they send you dosages dependent upon your physicality, your body weight, your height, your health, and you then need a trip sitter, which would be my wife Michelle, and then her and I attended a online training too. This is all required through mindbloom.com. I can't praise mindbloom.com enough. What a fantastic service. Obviously, they're a business. They need to earn and make profit, but it was so affordable. I think after all said and done, it was about $1,500 for 6 sublingually at-home ketamine treatment sessions. And within that came the screening that I was talking about, a consultation with a trip sitter, and then online counseling where you can go attend group counseling where you can share your ketamine experiences, and then also a trip guide, an entire guided session that was all done virtually. It's all sent to you through the mail in a package, which was crazy, which was the ketamine, a journal, and headgear. Eyewear to wear. And then they have a fantastic app that you have to go through gated information or gated modules before you can continue through the program. It was really well executed, really, really well done. And my sessions were unbelievable. They're acute. The ketamine session for me was about 50 minutes long, very intense. And it was unbelievable. One of the stipulations that you have to take your blood pressure before and after a ketamine session. So let's just say, for instance, my blood pressure might have been like 125 over 75 at the beginning of the session. At the end of the session, an hour later, your trip sitter, my wife, Michelle, would come in and check on me. And then we would take my blood pressure. And my blood pressure would be 90 over 60 or sometimes 80 over 60. It was remarkable how it just brought down my central nervous system and just chilled my whole body out, my whole mind, body, and spirit. The actual trip itself was intense. It would be about 50 minutes to an hour long. And then after that, due to the neuroplasticity or the fresh snowfall of the ketamine after, they highly suggest a lot of journaling. And I banged that journal out. Like I filled that journal. I actually filled 2 journals. I would journal prior to the session and immediately after the session. And I sort of screwed up. I should have had the journal next to me. I'll bring it next time to go into detail about some of the trips, quote unquote trips, whatever you want to call it. But it was a game changer for me. that fresh blanket of snow easily gave me a farther perspective or a deeper perspective on my thought process, and it added so much compassion and love toward myself that Michelle, my wife, instantly saw the positive ramifications of a ketamine treatment. So I did 6 of them. I did them about every other Friday. The reason I do it on Fridays was because another thing through the counseling sessions you get through Mind Bloom, due to the neuroplasticity and also how the drug can make you vulnerable at times, that they highly suggest after a session, you're very cognizant of who you spend your time with and how you spend it. Immediately after each trip, I would recover a little, and Michelle and I would go on a walk. They highly suggest a lot of nature walks and very, very quiet social calendar. So that's why I did it on Fridays, because it was almost like my house became a temple for the weekend. We spoke to my son, and he was understanding and understood what was going on. So the house was very quiet, very chill, because of that neuroplasticity and the rebuilding of the neural pathways in my brain. Yeah, I can't say enough about, for me personally, for ketamine treatment, it has had a profound impact on me, a positive, profound impact on me. I would highly recommend it if you think you're in need. That being said, I'm not obviously a licensed therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist, that being said. But if you want any firsthand account or any guidance, or, just to talk about it, feel free to reach out to me, because gladly I'll talk about it. It was a game changer for me. Game changer. Can't go into it more. I'm actually going to do another round this winter again. For me, I've struggled with depression and anxiety my whole life. And at times, I think due to my age and the stresses of the world, my soul, it feels thin at times. I do get just fatigued, like a metaphysical, existential fatigue. And I just carry a lot of weight psychologically and spiritually. So the ketamine for me was like shedding decades, if not eons, of some of that weight. So yeah, that is ketamine, better living through chemistry in a nutshell. But I will definitely bring my journal next time, because some of the experiences I had were wild, and I shared them with my brother. Totally Todd. Love you, Totally Todd. And he's always been a great supporter of me, and he says it in a kidding way, but yet a very heartfelt, respectful way, that I have a PhD when it comes to anxiety and depression and how to deal with it and not deal with it. I've done very well with it throughout my life, and I've also struggled greatly. But yeah, again, sorry, I'm rambling on a little bit. Ketamine, highly recommend it. But discuss it, research it, speak about it with your loved ones. And if you need any firsthand experience, news from the front line or observation from the fronts, feel free to reach out to me, and gladly I'll speak to you about that. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm having the mental health hygiene aspect, because dudes and dudettes, it is a miracle I'm still here. And that's through a lot of hard work, a lot of love from my wife and my friends and family, and just, I'm fucking tough as nails too. But toughness and quote unquote masculinity, whatever that means, that will not get you through it. Love and compassion in the end will get you through it. And perhaps ketamine. Okay, that's enough. I rambled enough about that. And I think we walked away with a couple facts about the background of ketamine and how it's associated with the combat zones of Vietnam, and then ended up becoming a party drug called Special K. And now it's used worldwide as a revolutionary tool to deal with depression and anxiety. And thank God that's the case. All right, so that leaves us with the last one. All right, I felt like I rambled on a little about that, but that's not easy talking about that publicly. But I hope you found some solace in my words. So the last one on the spinning wheel, I'm not even going to spin it, obviously, because it's the last one. This is the Tales from the Jar. If you need a break, or you want to fast forward, or you're done with me, I get it. I'm getting tired of hearing my own voice, but I'm getting used to this. All right. This one is a true story. It's entitled The Poo Bandit, an unsolved true crime. And my friend CJ, the same gentleman that we talk or liken certain musician skill sets to writing skill sets, he has recorded a song that will tie in with this. So make sure you listen to the end of this story because you will hear a song as Riley plays us out, my man Riley Rolland. Okay. Poo Bandit, a true unsolved crime story. A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was a grammar school teacher in northern New Jersey. I used to teach 4th and 5th grade. If you're a male grammar school teacher, you are like an X-Men. You're like a mutant. There's very few male grammar school teachers, or at least there was in the buildings that I worked in, which was fine. The only reason I'm saying that is because that will come into play for the Poo Bandit. So I'll set the setting. Classroom, grammar school classroom. All the desks are small. All the people are small. This is the 4th grade. Everyone's either 9 or 10. Excuse me. There's about 20 to 25 students in my class. I had a teacher's assistant in there. He was fantastic. I'm going about my day teaching, but all along, there has been a Poo Bandit within the 4th grade hallway. Now, if you don't know what a Poo Bandit is, I'm just going to be blunt, and as stated before, I'll be working blue. A Poo Bandit is just a dude who just smears shit all over the place. And I'm talking not just in the boys' bathroom on the 4th grade wing, but all over the walls and the lockers. The Poo Bandit was striking Gotham City, if you will, or striking the grammar school that I was working in. So being one of the only female teachers in the school, the principal, who is female, she tasked me with going into the boys' bathroom once in a while and almost becoming like like a shit sleuth. Like I had to see what was going on there, try and get some intel. Would I catch the dude smearing his feces all over the place? Maybe if I caught him, I don't know, maybe I would have gotten a raise or teacher of the year or golden apple. I don't know. But I didn't catch him. Just to cut to the chase, the Poo Bandit, he's still out there. So be mindful, be careful. Who knows? He might be hiding in the foothills of Afghanistan, but the Poo Bandit was never, ever apprehended. But within my class, it was a great class. I still remember some of the kids' names because they were just a great, great bunch of young kids together. But then again, they were kids and they all had their struggles as we do as adults. But I had one young lad there who sometimes would get off task. He would call out quite often. He had the aide of the class. We would have to tend to him all the time. We'll just call him RM. We'll call him RM. RM was having a great, a couple months, but the Poo Bandit was striking. There was tension in the air. And RM started calling out a lot and in the middle of my instruction. And he would distract not only himself, but the entire class. And then the teacher's assistant would go up and try and redirect him. But then one time when the teacher's assistant went up and redirected him, he shot me a look like, you're going to have to come over here ASAP. So one of the things you never want to do is ostracize students, especially very young students. I liken being a public school teacher to that of a well-trained Shakespearean actor who can improv with the best of them. You have to be a Shakespearean actor because you have to know your content. You have to be a subject matter expert on whatever subject you're teaching. You have to be able to break down complex things in very simplistic terms. Hence, the Shakespearean actor. But then the improv is you got to deal with the craziest shit that goes down on a daily basis. Like take your workplace and imagine if all of your coworkers were in one cubicle. That's a classroom. 20 to 25 to 30 different personalities, different learning needs, different cultural nuances, all together trying to work together and function together. So when I got that look to come on over, I knew this was going to be a good one. So I said, hey, what's going on? Quietly, I don't want to ostracize or bring any negative attention to anyone. And the teacher's assistant said, RM's got something to say to you. So I lean into RM and I go, what's up, man? How can I help you? And without hesitation, RM looks at me and he goes, Mr. Drosselmeier, I tried to push a fart out, but some poo escaped. Now, right away, I'm like, I might have apprehended the Poo Bandit. I might get a bonus. This chaos of Gotham City being assaulted by the feces, it might come to an end. But at the same time, I believe in justice. And I have to believe that this guy, RM, is not the Poo Bandit. He just sharded himself. So right away, I lean right back into him. I go, you're going to have to go to the nurse. And without hesitation, brilliant comeback, he goes, yeah, I am. So if you don't know about grammar school or elementary ed nurses, they're like Walmart. They have everything there, from every over-the-counter drug imaginable, sneakers, shoes, change of pants, baseball caps, hand grenades, slingshots, Capri Suns, apple juices, Gatorades. They got it all, man. So RM went down there for for some clean drawers. Like, everyone's entitled to some clean slacks. And he came back with clean slacks. But now it's public enemy number one, dude. So I had to report this to the principal. And we had to track RM. I'd like to say that RM was cleared of all charges. He was never found guilty. But as stated before, the Poo Bandit was never apprehended. Now, you got to remember, this is 25 years ago. So there's no state-of-the-art surveillance. Like, we're not in a surveillance state that we are in now in both schools and workplaces and in society in general. In the early 2000s, there's no video footage. There's no swipe cards to get in and out of buildings. There's no videos of people coming and going throughout the hallways. So there is no way of tracking the Poo Bandit. This guy, he was out and about, leaving his calling card all over the place. He was never discovered, but I'm proud to say, or glad to say, that RM was all charges were dropped against him just because he tried to push a fart out, but some poo escaped. Which leads me to wrapping up the story and the closing song. That line, I tried to push a fart out, but some poo escaped, became a call, like it became a war cry for my friends and I. Yeah, juvenile, but yeah, funny as hell and still timeless and still talking about it 25 years to this day, to the point where my friend CJ would play an acoustic version of this song and sing the chorus, and my friends and I would laugh hysterically. And then when I called him just recently, telling him I'm finally putting this podcast together, and the first story I'm going to talk about is the Poo Bandit, a.k.a. I tried to push a fart out, but some poo escaped. My friend CJ, kudos to you, brother. He created a song and crafted a song. So in a couple of moments, Riley's going to play us out with I tried to push a fart out, but some poo escaped. All right. I'm going to wrap up. That's coming to an end. I'm going to wrap up the premiere version, the premiere session, the premiere episode of the Cool Hand Dross show, the Cool Hand Dross podcast. As you could see, we're going to go from heavy mental health hygiene to talking about shit, from a Nobel laureate, Toni Morrison, to juvenile songs. So I'm proud to wave that freak flag high, my friends. So if you're still with me, thank you for tuning in. Again, the premise of the show will be 4 staples or 4 pillars. It will be books, the reading of them and the writing of them, my first novel, novella painting, mental health hygiene, all my escapades. I'm going to be candid. It will be brutal at times. It will be heavy at times, but I'm here to tell my friends. And if anyone finds any solace or hope out of them, then I served my purpose. If you ever need to talk to anyone about mental health, reach out to a brother. We're going through, obviously, an epidemic. Men are suffering greatly. I know they're all different people are suffering from some type of mental health issues, but men seem to be taking it on the chin, perhaps because they have this unfortunate stigma or stereotype that, men should not cry, or men should not feel, or men should not be compassionate or loving or caring towards themselves. But I think that's changing. It's changing for the better. But if you need anyone, reach out, brothers. And then the fourth one is the culture call out. I covered the Paul Thomas Anderson movie and my Toni Morrison deep dive and the great nonfiction piece called Say Nothing. All right, that's it. Coming to an end. Thank you for listening. I'm going to release episodes every week. This was a dress rehearsal. I was a bit nervous. I winged most of it. I have one word page document up on my monitor. I hope I didn't stumble too much. I hope I didn't repeat myself too much. And while you're doing laundry, trying to go to sleep, driving to work, or going for a walk, I hope that my voice pierced through the whole gray noise of the world in which we live in now, my friends. All right, this is Scott from the Cool Hand Dross Podcast, signing off. Thank you very much. And Riley, play us out, brother.
Into my pants, I was trying to push a fart out and some poo escaped into my pants. It made me dance. Push a fart out and some poo escaped into my pants. I was trying to push a fart out and some poo escaped into my pants. It made me dance.